Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Life Skills for Teens May class. It says how to change a tire and how to jumpstart a car. We have with us John. He's going to introduce himself and let you know a little bit about himself and his wife. And they're going to go over how to change a tire and how to jumpstart a car. Any questions that you have, you can feel free to please, if you can, to put them in the chat. And then I will stop periodically, or when John stops, I'll throw in a question if there's one that comes up. And I know I might end up helping to throw in some questions because I find some of the stuff, being older and knowing that I still have yet to have changed a tire, but I have jump started a few cars. There's still some things I'm hesitant on. So I will help and throw in some questions. I hope you don't mind, John.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can I what?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. And so any issues anybody has, just go ahead and throw them in the chat and I will work on the IT on the backside if anybody has an issue hearing anybody or seeing anyone. Other than that, go ahead, John, take it away.
Okay. My name's John Dimick and I live in Greenville, South Carolina. My wife is my assistant. This is a picture of us about a year ago. We were in Hawaii about this time, so that was a vacation for us. But you know, I was an engineer for 38 years, a mechanical engineer, and I retired a couple of years ago. But you know, I've always owned old cars. And in fact, the 4 cars we have now have an average of 160,000 miles on them. So we got a couple that are over 200,000. So I'm always fixing cars, you know, something's always going wrong. And I've done that my whole life. In the last 4 years, you know, we've been unlucky enough to have 5 flat tires. Most of those were all punctures, but I'll show you one that wasn't. And then we're, you know, dead batteries are just part of the game. And then I found my career path when I was, you know, in high school. I thought I wanted to be a mechanic, and you know, I was always tinkering with cars and taking things apart. And we lived out in the country, and I didn't have any way to go see my friends or anything. And I told my dad I wanted a car, and he said, "Well, there's that car that doesn't work out in the yard. Go fix it." So I was taking it apart, and 3 of my friends showed up. And said, "What are you doing? I'm taking apart this engine." I said, "Okay, we'll help." So in a matter of a few hours, we had the whole engine apart, the engine block out, and then they left. So I'm left with about, you know, hundreds of car parts that they helped take apart, and I didn't know where they went back. So I got a shop manual and spent the next year learning how to put that car back together and get it running. And in the process, I realized I wanted to be the guy who designed the parts, not the guy who fixed the parts. So that's how I got into mechanical engineering. And I was a mechanical design engineer, designing parts my whole career, but they were gas turbine engine parts, not car parts. But
you did aircraft engines too.
Aircraft engines, yeah. And then so that's basically me. I'll try to go to the
Quick
next
question for you. So quick question. So when you get to design the parts, that means you get to, when you were putting that engine together, you could see what worked and what didn't work with the layout and design as far as reaching certain bolts and reaching this and reaching that.
Yes.
Right. So
yeah.
being a mechanical design engineer means you get to make it a little bit more user friendly, or you get to make it make adjustments to it so that it works a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big things that I learned. The shop manual is basically, and every mechanic has one. It comes specifically for your car and tells you where all the parts go, what the torques on all the bolts are. You know, it's got lots of illustrations. And when I was going through that, I was just amazed, you know, like you said, how much thought went into being able to reach every bolt, you know, and being able to put every part in its place without having other parts in the way, and how all the parts work together. I was amazed by that, and I was, you know, impressed by how clever a lot of it was. and I wanted to be the guy to
Come up.
do that sort of thing too. So, you know, that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always looked when I've bought a car, I've always opened the hood and seen, where can I see where the spark plugs are? Can I see that? So I can, because those are easy things that you fix. Can I see where the alternator is? Can I see where, make sure I fully understand where all the fluids are before I buy it?
Right. And
I
that's
always
what,
make sure I know those things.
that's what we're going to get into a little bit in the next page, because I think this is the most important slide of the whole thing, because, if you don't have these basic things in place and you're ready for these emergencies, then it's going to limit your ability to execute in these emergencies or even do anything. So I have a video on this, and so I don't know if you guys want to screenshot this and we can go through the video and go through these things item by item, but I thought it would be more useful than just putting up a page of text, rather show you where these things are. And is that all right?
Christine?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay,
All right, let me see if I can play that.
video.
Okay, sure.
Yes,
Then I go to here.
yeah. Which video?
It is
Yeah, now,
this one.
okay, good. Now you can play. Because we can see on the screen.
Can't see it on your screen.
No, oh, can see on
Can
your
see it
screen?
there. How
Okay.
do
Okay, how do we make it to that screen though?
I'm sorry, I'm not. My isn't.
Okay, you can pause it right now. Just
Yeah.
pause it. Okay, for some reason, the video is playing on his computer, but not
Okay.
Yeah,
sharing.
I was gonna say, yeah, that is kind of odd.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's playing on
You
there.
you have to switch it over.
You have to switch the screen you're sharing,
Yep.
correct, Paula?
Yes, you have
Ah.
to switch the screen you're sharing.
He just has one screen though. He's on his laptop computer.
Okay, so,
Do the stop share and then redo it
Share. Okay.
and pick the right one. Yep.
Okay, stop share. Oh, right there, the red.
Oh, stop here. Okay.
Yeah.
stop share. When you hit share screen again,
Uh-huh.
it should show you,
Oh, now I can see myself.
Yeah. Oh, no.
yes, all right. So
Oh,
you
that's
want to pick the one that has the movie screens on it. I think that's what you want to do,
And if there's sound, make sure you hit the sound button.
right?
Okay, so
We did
now,
that beforehand.
Sonny, you can turn the volume on, so we can just turn this volume on.
No, just keep it on.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
now, all right.
Now do your video share. Do your video share screen. Share screen. Yeah. Now you're good. Now to this one. Yeah, media play. Is that correct? Oh no, you wanted. Yeah. Now it's coming. No.
Okay,
Okay.
all
Now
right.
There we go. That should
Stop.
work. Yes.
All right, now let's see.
Right.
Let's see if the sound works.
are you talking?
Yeah, I'm talking.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. Boy, it's very much slower on your screen than it is on mine.
But I cannot hear the sound.
All right, well, I'll just have to talk over it. So what I'm saying here, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm pointing out wear bars here. These are important to determine your tire tread depth. If your tire tread depth gets below these wear bars, then you lose traction. If they get way below the wear bars, like you're showing cords or metal cords in your tire, then you're in jeopardy of having a blowout, which will typically happen at high speed, and that's very dangerous. That's a second leading cause of flat tires is blowouts. So you want to always make sure that you have tire tread depth, for not only for traction, but to prevent blowouts. Now, the second thing on the list, boy, that's very jittery. Why is this so bad?
Yeah.
I think it just has to do with bandwidth, the amount of bandwidth we're doing, but
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the next thing I'm talking about here is where to find the inflation pressure for your tires. It's right inside the door. There's a label. And you can see here it's 35 PSI for the front and rear tires. It even tells you it's 60 PSI for the spare tire.
And it's usually on the driver's side door
Yeah.
frame.
Next thing I'm going to go to is
Spare tire.
spare tire.
And let's just talk about
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This
Yeah,
is
the
fine.
video quality is not that good.
That's okay. And it's actually fine that it's moving a little bit slower. That way it gives you the time to talk about it. So there's
Okay.
your spare tire. And for a lot of
Yeah.
cars, it's in the trunk.
Right. Some of them it isn't, but in my case, it's in the trunk. All the cars I have, it's in the trunk. And then, but for me, the valve stem wasn't facing out, so I had to take and flip the tire over to check the pressure. And
Okay, it says if you turn web camera, it may improve the, okay, yeah, instead of showing the your camera. Okay.
I turn it off.
No, let me see.
Okay.
Except his camera wasn't working on his computer.
But now it
Yeah.
worked. Now it worked. Now because okay.
Now it's
Yeah, that's the screen. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm checking the, here, you figure this out.
Okay.
I'm checking the pressure, and it is around 50 to 60 PSI. I have here, this is a dial pressure gauge, but I also have a cheaper one. This is about $8 gauge. I also have a cheaper one there. That's only, that one there is only about $1. You should
Yeah,
probably-
that pen gauge. I have one of those in my car.
Yeah, you should probably keep that in every car glove compartment. Those little pencil ones. And the first time I did it, it didn't work, and so I did it again, and it showed. You really got to get a good seal on there. You can't hear. You shouldn't hear any air escaping when you do this. So, so now the video's not very good, but it was about 60 PSI. So I say, okay, I could check off that box. I have a spare tire. It's inflated. I have, the jack bar. I have the jack. I have the tire and the jack. I can remove it all easily. So now we're down to, how short is my tire iron? The short tire iron, if you do the basic calculation on torque is force times distance. So if you have a short tire iron, you need to put more force into the end of it. The tire irons they give you these days are really short. Like this one's only about a foot long. So you really have to put a lot of force into it to get the torque. So I carry an extension bar, which is it's an iron pipe that I could put over the tire iron to make it longer. Now I'm looking at, are all my lug nuts there? Yes, they are. I'm not going to show you every tire. I got the cap on the valve stem. That's good. I'm going to show you how to replace that tire in another video. Let's see. What am I talking about here?
The bolts.
Oh, okay. I did mention also that if you have a locking lug nut, you got to be careful of that. So some people use locking lug nuts so that their wheels can't be stolen. If you have a locking lug nut, you need to be carrying the key with you, because if you get an emergency situation and you can't unlock that lug nut, then you're stuck. You won't be able to remove the wheel and replace it. Now we have a hood latch. This is where the hood latch is typically found. It's by the parking brake. That's the inside hood latch. Now you need to go around to the front of the car and you need to find the external hood latch. What I'm showing here is that I carry this stick with me because I know that this car in particular has a problem. And a lot of older cars have this problem also, is that if they come with these gas shocks that are meant to hold the hood up, those get old over time and they no longer hold the hood up. So now I'm actuating the external hood lock, which is right under the hood. I can pull the hood up, but it won't stay up in this car. This car has 125,000 miles on it. So I carry this stick to hold it up. And, I could replace those gas shocks. And I probably should at some point. They're easy to do, but I haven't done it yet.
But sometimes the stick just serves its purpose. I love this because, that's what happens.
Exactly. I keep the stick for multiple purposes. One, I use
Absolutely.
it for a stick, and if I ever need to use it for, protection, I got it also. It's an oak stick. So,
Absolutely.
and what I have it over, what I'm showing over here on my older van, this one has over 200,000 miles on it, is it comes with this stick. The stick folds down and is stored with the engine.
Oh, yes.
And you just pop it up and prop it into that little holder there, and it's always with you. So this one didn't have the gas shocks. It's just got that prop. Okay, now I'm talking about the battery. Is the battery easily accessible? Can you tell what date is on it? Now I couldn't tell what the date was on this battery. But I can easily tell which is the plus terminal and which is the minus terminal. I can definitely tell which is plus because it's got the big plus sign. Here I'm talking about how that external hood latch works. Now this is a very important feature that every car has. And the reason it's there is because if you don't close your hood completely, or you somehow hit the internal latch and you're going down the highway 60 miles an hour, if you didn't have this hood latch here, your hood would fly open and block your view. And it's very dangerous. So that's why that is there on every car. It's a good feature. Here's the plus terminal on the battery and the negative, and they're in good shape. There's very little corrosion, or, they're pretty clean. When we lived in Florida, oxidation, I should say. When we lived in Florida, these terminals, because of the salt air, there would be a ton of oxidation on them. If you get a lot of oxidation, if you're anywhere close to the ocean, you get a lot of oxidation on these terminals, they'll quit conducting electricity and you won't be able to start your car. So it's good to keep these terminals clean, and where we're at now in Greenville, South Carolina, there's very little oxidation. Now I'm showing this one because I just replaced these terminals and I just replaced this battery. You can see that battery has a date on it. I just replaced it in November of last year. And I also replaced those terminals because they had some oxidation on them, and one was also broken. So it's good to keep a clean connection there.
Do you, how long do batteries last?
No, that's a good question. You can buy, I bought this one for Walmart. They have 3 batteries there. It's a 1-year battery, a 2-year battery, and a 3-year battery. The 3-year battery is about twice as expensive as the 1-year battery. I bought the 1-year battery for that van because, see, I'm showing you old terminal I took out of there. I had a little oxidation, it was broken. But I bought the 1-year battery for that van because I only started, 2 or 3 times a week, which to me is like 3 years of starts, compared to people who start it every day. So I just saved a little money on that. The other thing is, I'll show you later, is I have a jump starter. It's a remote jump starter that I keep with the car, which I'm going to recommend to people as an option for when they travel. I think that's the end of this video. I think we can. Oh, I just show the jumper cables in the back. I think it did.
Okay.
Yeah. So I keep my jumper cables and my extension bar back here in the well because this well is so big. I can hide everything back there, and hopefully people have a place like that where they can keep emergency equipment like that. Yeah, you can stop that.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you go back to
the sharing screen? Let me go back to the.
I can tell you, Olivia said that was a great tip. I think having that bar and having that long, I want to say broomstick with you.
Yeah, that is when we get into changing the tire, which I think we're going to talk about next. Sorry, my IT person's working on this.
Sorry.
I know, no problem.
So now she's trying to leave the meeting.
No.
You guys are a lovely pair working here. We've got one doing this and one doing the IT.
See, hold on.
I think she.
You see, I'm not familiar with Zoom at all, just because.
I know.
The Teams in GE when I'm not
Hold on.
familiar with it either.
I may just gotta kicked out. Okay.
So those of you that are here, for this class, can you put in, do you drive yet? I'd love to know in the chat if you can drop in there if you drive yet. Because I'm interested to know if
Yeah.
you drive and how familiar you are with your vehicle, or if you don't drive, how familiar you are with your parents' vehicle.
Yeah, it's waiting. Christine, can you let us join the call? I mean, John
Yeah,
has file on
It
the.
hasn't popped up to do that,
Okay.
to let him in. Nothing popped up. Oh, here we go.
Okay, he comes.
So you don't think you can read that?
My computer is a BMW computer.
Oh, Georgina said she can drive. Great. I mean,
Ooh.
I have a 19-year-old and she has her own car and she drives. And then I have a 15-year-old who is learning how to drive. And she does not have her own vehicle. We're not doing that yet. And Charlize says she cannot drive. Okay, Kay says she drives. All right, so Georgina and Kay, do you guys know what things are? Olivia drives, but she's not very familiar with her car. Okay, so.
Ask her to. Christine, can you enable John participate share screen share?
Yes.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, I just realized you were gonna need that.
Yeah, Donnie, let's just go through the file first. How about that?
Okay.
All right, so Charlize cannot drive, Kay drives, Olivia drives, but she's not familiar with her car. All right, so not familiar with the hood too. Oh, do you know how to, Georgina, do you know how to open the hood of your car?
Mouse button.
Okay, just checking and make sure. I will tell you, I'm the oldest of 7. And so my younger siblings, I was more familiar with the car than my younger siblings were. So I did a lot of showing them how to make sure they did this and how to do that. And I did a lot of that growing up. So I was more into making sure they all understood. Okay, there we go.
All right, so we're going to start off with how to change a tire now, and that's one of the questions I put on here, but there's a couple other questions that go with it. You know, knowing how to change a tire is one thing, but can I change the tire? Do I have the proper equipment with me? Is the spare tire inflated? So that's what we just went through there, those checks. The other part of that question is, are you physically capable of changing a tire? If you weigh 100 pounds and you drive this Jeep, I'm showing up here with a spare tire that weighs 60 pounds, that's going to be an effort to replace that tire. So, you know, you may want to practice this. You may want to see, are you physically able to change a tire? You know, it takes some strength to operate the jack. It takes some strength to break the lug nuts. It takes some strength to maneuver these tires in place, get them up on the lug nuts. I struggle with that myself, and then, you know, put the lug nuts on and torque them back down. And then the other part of that question is, should I change the tire? And that is a lot of circumstantial, because you want to be in a safe place if you're going to try this. If you're on a busy highway and there's really no shoulder, no emergency lane, then you might want to just get off the highway as best you can and call for help. It's very dangerous to change a tire on the side of a busy highway. Now, if the last time I had a flat, I was pulling into the parking lot of a store and I ran over something. I ran over the hook of a strap, and it put a 1-inch puncture in my tire that's not fixable. I was able to pull right into a handicapped parking space and change the tire and then go get a replacement tire. I wasn't able to fix that one, but I was lucky there. A lot of times that won't happen. I will say though that you won't pick up a lot of punctures or tire problems on highways, you know, like I-85 or I-95, because there's very little debris out there. What you're more likely to find there is blowouts from having worn out tires. So keep your tires in good shape. and those kind of highways also have a pretty big emergency lane. If you can find a place where you can go in there and feel safe changing the tire, then that's an option. If you don't feel safe doing it, call for help. And one of the things you can do is one of the things we have is a AAA membership. And I'll show you that at the end, but I find that pretty convenient. If you run out of gas,
Yeah.
you have a dead battery, you don't have jumper cables, or you get, you don't have a spare or something like that, which isn't the case for us, but calling AAA takes a little bit of time. Sometimes it takes them an hour or two to get there, but it's better than the risking your life trying to change a tire.
And just to touch on that one thing, some new cars now don't include spares.
That's exactly right. And I was reading about that. I disagree with that completely because
I do too.
the last flat I had was not a repairable flat. Now, what I do is I carry a puncture repair kit with me, and I've not had to replace. I've only had to replace that one tire out of the 5 that went flat. The others, I fixed the puncture right on without taking the tire off with the repair kit. I pulled the nail out, put the plug in, and they all work. This one was non-repairable, so I had to replace it. Well, these ones that don't come with a spare tire, they're betting that you're going to have a puncture that's repairable. So they only give you an inflator and a repair kit. If you have a blowout, you're stuck without a spare. So you might want to think about that when you're buying your car. Is there a spare that comes with it or not? And what are you going to do if you run into a blowout situation? That's a good question.
Yeah, I have one thing I would like to add. You can elongate your tire life by rotating your tires on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because we have front wheel drive, most of the cars, right? And then they tend to wear out quicker than the back tires. So if you have every 3,000 or 5,000 miles, I forgot how many miles to rotate your tires, put the back ones in the front, and then they can wear them out more evenly.
Yeah, I'll stick with the slides. We'll go through the slides because the video doesn't seem to be working that well. I did a video of putting on the spare tire, which was, turned out all right. But I did it. I changed the spare in 6 minutes. So that gets back also to, can you change the tire? Now, if you're stuck on a busy highway, if it's going to take you 30 minutes to change the spare tire, you might want to call for help. If you can do it in under 10 minutes, you greatly reduce the amount of risk. The less time you're out there putting yourself at risk, the better chance you are of succeeding. So if you can execute this quickly in under 10 minutes, I would say go ahead and change the tire, every time.
I have a question.
Okay.
How long can you drive on the tire, or what risk of damage can you have if you just keep driving on a tire? For some of us in the group here that might, I had a blowout in the highway once, and I've had a couple flat tires where all of a sudden my light went on and I hurried up and I tried to get someplace that was safe. But a good thing for some of us younger, especially as women, is like, how far can we drive to get someplace safe before we start really damaging the tire or the vehicle?
That's a good question. I say here that you can drive slowly, like less than 10 miles an hour. You can go pretty far if you do that. I would say maybe even make it to the next exit. But if the faster you drive, the more chance you have of damaging that tire beyond repair, and also damaging your rim. Now, the tire replacement is $120, $140. The rim replacement is much higher. It's like probably $250, $300. So if that is your only option to drive, I would drive in the emergency lane. You always want to have your flashers on, which is the first bullet here, and get as far as you can if that's your only option. But you do take the risk of shredding that tire that's flat, and and making it non-repairable. I would definitely drive slow though, and don't let anybody hurry you. I mean, this is an emergency situation. Put your flashers on, do what you need to do, take your time, get to safety. Don't let anybody, people honking at you, whatever. Don't pay any attention to them. Just get to safety and do what you need to do. You don't want to brake aggressively. You don't want to slam on the brakes. You want to get out of traffic and let everybody know that you have an emergency situation. And here I say that if the tire is on the, if it's on the traffic side, you want to pull as far off the road as possible. Get your other two tires into the grass even, and give yourself a lot of room between the traffic and where you're changing the tire. If it's on the opposite side, you got to start thinking about where you're going to place the jack. So you don't want to put the jack on grass. So you want to get the car more into the right tires kind of right on the emergency lane pavement, so you can put the jack on solid footing. Put the car in park, put the parking brake on, keep your flashers going this whole time. And you want to block the tire that's opposite of the one that's flat. And the reason you do that is because just putting a car in drive doesn't mean it won't roll. Just putting it on parking brake on doesn't mean it won't roll. Parking brake only affects two of the wheels. The drive really only affects one of the wheel. And depending whether you have front wheel or rear wheel drive, you may be jacking up that wheel. You may be lifting it off the ground. So you want to make sure you block one wheel to make sure the car doesn't roll on you. How do I go down?
We'll go back up.
There, okay. All right, what happened to step 2? Oh, here we go. So then you remove the spare tire and jack from the trunk. You find the jack points. Now these are kind of easy to see. They're usually 2 notches in a rail that are right under these points. You can kind of see it in the picture there. You put your jack up, engaging that jack point, and you crank the jack up. Now, I show in the video, which I don't know if we'll get to, but the tire iron and the actuator bar fit together such that you can use it as a crank. And you can see videos of this online also, but it actually works very well. You can turn it really fast and jack the car up. So what I do is I jack the car up and get some weight remaining. First, I break free all the lugs. Just break them free. Just get them turning. Then I jack the car up to keep some pressure on the tire, but take the weight off the tire really. And then I wheel all the lugs out with the tire, and I just freewheel all the lugs out. The main thing here is to keep the lugs in a safe place. Okay, so if you have a cup or you put a towel on the ground, I've seen lots of people do this. I've done this myself. You're in a hurry, you just put the lugs on the ground, lug nuts on the ground. You go to put the spare on, and it's like, where are the lug nuts?
Right.
Or there's dirt in them. This is a critical part that I think a lot of people who are, if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you can lose those lug nuts and you shot yourself in the foot on replacing the tire there. So I learned my lesson there. I keep them in a safe place and I keep them clean. And that's also a good point. Remove the tire, damaged tire. Okay, let's go next. And then step 3, just putting the spare on. You want to always kind of lift the tire up and take it off, lift the tire up and put it on. You don't want to damage the threads on the wheel studs because that can make the nut hard to put on and hard to take off. You snug the lugs down with the tire iron. You jack down the vehicle. This is basically reverse of what you did before. Put some weight on it. You torque to the recommended torque. Now, for me, it's just kind of like I don't put the extension bar on. I just put some body weight into it, and you want to get close to 100 foot-pounds if you can, but a lot of times 80, 60 will even work. So it's the best effort there, and you're just doing this for the spare tire. When you put the new tire back on, you want to make sure you get the recommended torque, which you can find in your owner's manual. It's usually 80 or 100 foot-pounds. You jack down the tire completely, throw your flat tire in the trunk and everything, and you're good to go. right.
So I want to just add, I like that you, I have a minivan and we have tried to change my flat tires in the minivan with the little jack that they sent. So technically it doesn't really work well, but what
Yeah.
I've learned, sometimes I just have to carry a floor jack, but I will say that what I've learned is those lugs are really hard to get off. And I
Yes.
like how you're saying, and some of us might not think, like, I think a lot of you can see me, like if your bar is only this long, you can't, like, to get the amount of weight you need to get on it, like, which would be like the torque to get on it to break it free is really tough. So you have an extension bar that kind of like is a glove that kind of goes over this.
Yeah.
And then this whole weight, like of just pretending it's a bars, this whole weight, it goes down. You can get a better angle and a lot. I think I need to throw one of those in my car.
Let me just go grab
Yeah.
my jack. Can you get the camera working? Well, let me just show you real quick.
Because I think that makes a lot of sense. Because that is a big issue, because you guys that are learning this, you know, most mechanic shops are putting those lug nuts on with air compressor machinery. They're using machinery. So when you're on the side of the road, to get them off is really tough because they've been like on. Okay. So like having another breaker bar, yeah, like Carol's saying, true, she cannot get her lug nuts off on her own. I think if we added another bar that goes on top, and then I think that gives you a better like range of motion to where you can get it off. You know, and like I was saying, for my minivan, they give me one of those little tiny jacks. It doesn't work well with that.
Okay.
I've got it all the way up to the top. So sometimes you have to carry a block of wood with you, like a 4x4 piece of block of wood, and you have to put that on the jack where you jack up your vehicle. You have to put that on top of that to give your jack more height when you're jacking up a vehicle to change your tire.
Look, Christine, can you let us start the video? Because I cannot do the video, the camera share, because you see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just watch all your stuff. Make sure that when you are changing your tires, that you have everybody out of the vehicle, because sometimes the vehicle can roll off of it. Okay, so you
Can you
want,
let us share our camera?
yep,
Okay.
I'm making you the host. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
share the host. Yeah, okay, now you
Okay,
can.
here we go. All right.
Yeah. You turn them on. Hold on.
Wait. You were there and then you guys went away.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, now.
There you
Okay.
go.
All right,
Let me turn the light on.
this is the jack kit that comes with the car. And this is the extension bar. This is just, it's about a 1 foot long, 1-inch pipe that I put on. So let me just show you how these parts go together, because it's not real intuitive, but it does work pretty well. The actuator bar, which looks like this, it's got a hook on the end, fits into this is the tire iron, fits into the tire iron like this. Okay. And then you engage, hold this up, Chuck. You engage the jack like this, and you can hold it like this and go like this.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can crank it really fast, and you can see the jack is moving.
Yeah, it's getting.
Okay, so
Higher.
it's going up when I turn it right. It's
Yeah.
going down when I turn it left. So working these two together like this actually gives you quite a bit of capability to crank the car up and down really fast. Not, I'm with you. I prefer hydraulics. I love hydraulics. So a floor jack is a hydraulic jack. Takes no effort to crank up and down, but it's also heavy to carry. I mean, the hydraulic jack can weigh 100 pounds or more.
I mean,
Right.
this fits into that.
Yes, this V fits into that jack point, which is just a rail and below your car, kind of over near the tire. So you fit this right up into that rail. And that's really a strong point in the frame of the car that's meant for jacking up and down. Okay, so that's a scissors jack. It has special threads on it.
This doesn't do anything.
This is the extension bar. Okay,
Okay.
so let's come back. Are there any questions on that? I think a lot of people don't know how to use those two tools together to.
Right. Carol asked, what is the name of that jack? And I think we answered that that was a scissor jack.
Yeah, that's a scissors jack. And you can actually, if you don't have one with your car, you can buy those at Walmart. They're pretty inexpensive. And they come with the handle and the actuator bar together. And it's actually probably a little nicer than what you would get with your car. They don't have the tire iron though. So to take the lugs off, you would need another wrench for that.
All right, she said, what's the cost of the jack? And so you kind of went over that. I think it's probably just something we could find at Walmart and you could.
I think I have it at the end. I have some costs at the end in the slide later. Hopefully I put that one in there. I'm thinking it's $20 to $30 for this set. That's what I'm remembering. It's not real expensive.
And then the bar that you have, was that you just a 1 foot, is it just a piece of pipe or did you buy a breaker bar?
It's actually a piece of, yeah, they call it black iron pipe. I got it from Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's used for propane gas, like the propane gas into your house would be this kind of pipe. It's steel, so it's very strong. I use it for other things, like, you know, whenever I need coverage on a wrench or something. This fits over just about everything, 1 inch. So I use it. I have a longer piece that will give me even more leverage when I need it.
Do you want to go next picture?
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, finish that one. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Last slide on changing a tire is, you know, what caused the debris. So I talked about how I was pulling into the parking lot, and this hook on the ground put a 1 inch hole in my tire. So it's like, you know, when I went out to change the tire, there's a big hole in it. It's like, what did that? So I walked back out to the entrance of the parking lot, and I saw the hook laying there, and so I moved it out of the way. I actually took it with me. I still have it. So it's you know, can you remove whatever caused you to get a flat tire so nobody else will get a flat tire? That's one thing you have to think about. If it was a blowout like that hook caused, that tire is not repairable. You got to replace it. That's kind of rare, but you know, it cost me $140 to replace that tire just because somebody left a hook in the road. If it's a slow leak, like a lot of times you'll go out to your car to go to work or something, your tire will be flat. That happens when you get a nail or a screw in your tire. And that's the most typical thing. And actually a nail or a screw will plug your tire for, you know, a number of days, but eventually it'll go flat. I keep this puncture repair kit in every glove compartment. I've used it many times, and it works very well. I've even plugged a sidewall puncture, which a mechanic told me wouldn't work, and it did work. I love these tools. They're very cheap. This is a $10 kit, and it has multiple repairs with it. You just, and there's videos online about how to use that, but I don't even take the tire off the car if I see a nail in it. I just repair it right there, and it lasts for the life of the tire. Another common source of leaks are the valve stem, which they also sell replacement valve stems and a tool to remove those valve stems. I haven't had to do that though. Go ahead. Okay.
Let me run short on
I
that.
had a flat tire one time and it was the valve stem. I couldn't find anything. I was looking and I couldn't find it. And I touched the valve stem to the side and it went, I was like, oh my gosh, it was old.
If you lose the cap, a lot of times your valve stem will go bad because it'll get dirt in there and things. So how much time do we have left?
We don't have much.
Okay, sorry.
Just keep going.
Anybody
Just
have time to
keep
go?
going. You're fine. Just keep going.
Okay, all right. this part will go pretty fast. Jump starting a car. There's a lot online about jump starting a car. You can see this. You can see this diagram at the bottom right here. You can see that a lot of people have put that online, but you know, I would find that on the internet, that picture, and just screenshot it to your phone. So you have it if you need to jump start your car. It's pretty easy to do. It's just hooking the red cable up to the dead battery, then you go over to the good battery and you hook both the red and the black up to that, and then you go back to the dead battery and you hook the black to a clean surface, a metallic surface that's part of the frame. Now I do that everywhere online. It says to do that, and I'm not able to jump start my car a lot of times if I do that. I have to go back and hook the black cable directly to the negative post on the battery. I've never had people say that can be dangerous. I've never had a problem doing that. I've always been able to start the car when I do that. So first hook it to a frame piece. If that doesn't work, move it to the negative battery terminal, start the car with the live battery, and start the car with the dead battery. There are times when you have to rev the good battery car a little bit, like if you're starting a big truck like a 250 truck with a big engine, you may need a little more amperage from the good battery, so you may have to rev it a little bit to start the truck. But usually just starting the car will be enough.
Yeah, the important thing is having a jump cable.
Yeah, that's how we get all the way to 4. Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss one? All right. Sorry, I missed. This jumps around a lot. The first step was, of course, getting your cars close enough to jumpstart, and that can usually that's usually the challenge, because if you're in a parking lot, there's people parked next to you who are in the store or something, and finding somebody who can get close enough cable distance to jump you can be a problem. And of course you have to set the ignition key on both vehicles to off before you hook anything up. Okay. Step number 3. All right, I guess I don't have a 3. Step 4 is always to find out why your battery is dead. The leading cause is because you left the lights on. That's very easily fixed. You know, then after you start your car, your alternator will recharge the battery, and then you'll have a full charge. I think I took out step 3 because I just combined everything in step 2 through the whole process of restarting the car. The other thing that will cause the battery to go dead is simply runs out of life. This happens to everybody. You'll see your car gets weaker and weaker every time you start it. Eventually, it just won't start. And like I said, batteries can last from 1 to 5 years, depending on how good a battery you get. Typically, if they say it's a 5-year battery, it won't last that long. So everybody's battery is going to go dead at some point. Corrosion on the battery or oxidation. Loose battery wires is another thing. A bad starter cable, bad alternator. If you start getting into things like this, bad starter motor, then you have to go to the, you really have to take it to a technician to figure out where the problem are. These are kind of hard to diagnose. And if you have these sort of problems, you probably won't be able to jump start your car. Or if you do jump start the car, it won't last very long. The last thing I'll say on this is the picture at the bottom right. Last time my car wouldn't start, I was in a Costco parking lot, and I was looking at these portable jump starters in the store, and I liked this one, but I didn't think I needed it. I went out to my van to start it, and it wouldn't start. And of course, I was in a situation where I was way over in the corner of the parking lot. Nobody could help me with jumper cables. So I said, I'll just go buy that thing. So I went back in and I bought it, took it out, jump started my car right away. And I keep it in my van all the time. If I'm going to go on a trip, this is the number one thing that goes in the car. It's got jumper cables. It's got ports for, you know, running AC, like you plug your computer into it. It's got ports for charging your phone. It's even got an inflator for pumping up your tires. So I haven't had to use that yet, but you know, to me, it's a one stop, you know, tool for emergencies, and I'm very impressed with it. It got good reviews online. I think it's about $85, so it's not real cheap, but you know, it's something I would recommend if you're going on trips to have this sort of thing with you. I also carry AC converter, so I can plug it into I can plug that into the cigarette lighter, and then plug this thing into that and charge this thing while I'm driving if I need to. So you know, I can always feel, you know, safe that I can jump start my car or inflate tires with this thing. It's good to have for emergencies. Then here's the AAA options. We have this card on the left, the lower cost one. And we've used it several times. I think we ran out of gas once.
Twice.
We ran out of gas twice. Okay, that's not real good. But, we used it another time. I can't remember.
Towing.
Towing, yeah, when the
Yeah.
car just quit. So
Yeah.
I think AAA is worth
Yeah.
is worth the cost myself. And you know, I'm glad we have it, but you know, if I got a flat tire and it was just a nail, I wouldn't sit around and wait for them. I would fix it myself, because they do take some time to get there. Let's see if I have anything else. Okay, here's some items that you can buy and how much they cost. Tire inflators, see on the top left, those little pencil ones are only $1. Some of the dial gauges can cost $6 to $10. WD-40 is keeping a small can with you is a good idea, because it can be used as a cleaner and a lubricant. And then you have some jumper cables in the middle. Can't see the cost of those, but they're usually $20 to $30, I think. There's emergency kits. Up at the top right is the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year batteries you can get from Walmart. Bottom left is an inflator, and I think it says $47 for one that has a battery, so that can jumpstart your car, and it has the inflator with it for $47. So that's pretty affordable. There's some more inflators to the right, and then they go up to $100. The one on the far right, the Cat, that's the bigger version of the one I have. And then here's tire repair tools on the bottom right. You have the tool itself that I was talking about where you repair plugs, but on the bottom right, there's also these cans you buy that have a hose on them, and you put it on the tire, and it's supposed to inject your tire with a slime that fills punctures, and it'll also give you some inflate the tire a little. I've never used those. I don't know how well they work, but it might be useful to keep a can of that in your car too, in case you need to, for emergency. Let's see, I think that's it. So are there any questions?
Very good. Thank you for that whole outline there. All right, so Kay said, thank you so much for this great class. You've given me confidence and knowledge. I do have Auto Club too. Carol Brown said she had AAA plus. And then Carol Brown said she read that if the engine light will not go off and you've had the car serviced, spraying the car with WD-40 will help if the crank is stalling.
The first thing I would do if the engine light comes on is get a mechanic to read the code. So I have this diagnosis tool there, because you know I have all these old cars. You plug, there's a plug underneath the dash that you plug into this digital tool, and it'll tell you the code of the error that the engine is warning you about. It'll actually say, you know, error code this, and here's what's wrong. So I've used this several times. My son just used it on his old car, and it told him he had this evaporator thing that was wrong with it, and it wasn't going to affect his driving ability at all. So we just ignored it. So he's running around with an engine light on, check engine light on, but it won't affect performance at all. You know, your mechanic will have this. He can easily just plug it in and read the code, and Or, you know, if you have a friend who has it, I think this was about $100. They're not real cheap, but you can probably find them cheaper than that. And I use it all the time because my engine lights are always coming on.
Because of old car.
Yeah. She said she had an older car and all the codes are checked, but that light wouldn't still not go out.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think
Sometimes-
sometimes,
They needed
ahead.
the mechanics to reset. It's a computer.
Yeah, they need to reset it. I
Yeah.
don't know why they wouldn't, but when the mechanic does work, he can reset it so the light goes off. I think they can, if they read the codes and say there's nothing wrong with the car, they should be able to reset it, that light off. Or she could have a benign problem like my son has that really doesn't affect
Yeah.
performance or the ability to drive it. The engine light will stay on, but you won't notice any difference. Is there any difference in the way it drives in that car?
Carol, I don't know if you can, if you haven't, is there any difference?
Starting
Sometimes-
it or?
Oh, I was gonna say, sometimes it runs it, am I right? My van one time needed a sensor. And so it had it in limp mode.
Hi,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
You can hear me?
yes.
Yeah, the car drives perfectly, but I noticed that when you start the car up, it's kind of, it gives you that sound like it's having a problem starting up, like there's something going on with the starter, but it always starts up. When I put
Yeah.
gas in it, and I leave the station, I turn the car on, I get the same noise like it's not gonna start up, but it always starts up.
Yeah.
So the mechanic said it could be the gasket or the valve down in the gas tank might be off, but they can't figure out what's going on.
Yeah, it could be a fuel filter. Typically, that'll need to be changed once during the car's life, and then I think it's fairly easy to do. I've never changed one, but it could be a fuel filter. That the gas is not flowing. The gas is not flowing well enough to the carburetor. I've had to change it multiple times on things like lawnmowers because they get dirty really fast, but I've never had to do it on a car. That could be one thing. I don't know if this thing would tell you
The diagnosis.
if that's the problem though. I think this has more to do with general engine functions.
Sometimes I think you can try putting 93 in and a can of that white and red Seafoam.
Yeah, exactly. That's
You can try that.
That is meant to clean out things like filters. It's Seafoam. That's a good. There are additives you can buy to put in your gas tank, and that's a good point. That will help clean out the gas line and the filter. They're called gas additives. You can find them in almost any store. Yeah, that's a good point. You might try that. What I would think initially on starter problems is starter motor. If your battery seems to be strong, then the next source to look at is starter motor. There's a solenoid valve in there that engages the starter motor. A lot of times that'll go bad. It's just a magnetic switch. Those things go bad all the time, but that's just some things to think about. Any other questions?
She said, okay, thanks. And for your knowledge, the battery is new.
Okay.
Great class.
Hopefully.
Any other questions? Any other thoughts or questions? Let's see for 1 second. What view, if I have a Honda Civic, let's just say that's a pretty common older car for a younger
Yeah,
person to
it's a
drive,
good car. Yeah.
right, and they usually last a long time. Is it okay for me to jump like a Ford F-150?
Yeah, gas to gas car. Like I was mentioning before, a Civic though, you may need to rev the engine some when the person is trying to start the 150. If you try to, that's just my experience. I used a car to start. A guy had a 250, which is the big ones with the double wheels, and I had to rev the engine on my car for him to have enough power to start his car. But that's fairly typical. There's nothing wrong with that, revving your engine for the other person to start it. A lot of times just letting your car idle when you're trying to start a bigger car won't work. And then you just rev your engine and they should be able to start theirs.
I just figured I'd ask. And something really important to note is when you, if for some of you, I did this, I had to jump somebody's car recently and I wasn't paying attention, and the negative and pot, I had one side unhooked. I just did one, I do one side, and I didn't know there was the whole procedure. So
Yeah.
like, you know, this way and this way. I did one side and then I went to do the other side and the two touched real quick and
Yes.
sparked. So you have to
It's
make
kinda scary,
sure
isn't
to
it?
remember that it's live on the other
Yeah.
end.
That is why, unfortunately, I couldn't show you my video, but putting the wires on yourself is difficult. It's better to have somebody over there holding, if you have somebody with you, holding the two ends of the one wire while you engage the other one. If you're putting them on yourself, you know, you got four ends of wires that you're trying to manage, and you have to be careful that you don't short circuit the battery by letting the ends touch, or even letting an end touch something you don't intend it to touch. Like if they were on the ground in a puddle of water, that would create the circuit. That would short out the battery. So it's difficult to do by yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there is some understanding of mechanics that we all need to have, and some knowledge of like a circuit, and some
Yeah.
knowledge of certain things that are really important for us to have to know
Yeah.
these things.
Yes, and that's why I love that portable battery, because it will not let you make a mistake. If you hook it up backwards, it'll just say on the display, you have it backwards. I'm not going to allow you to start the car. It won't provide power. So unless you get the hookup correct and it shows on the screen your hookup is correct, then it'll provide the power when you turn the key. Otherwise, it'll do nothing. It won't allow you to mess up. So it's a safe tool to use for jump starting cars, and it's portable. I got two tractors. One of them was always dying. You know, I had one tractor that was out in the field, battery's dead. There's no way to get a plug-in charger to it. There's no way to get a car out to it. I took this portable unit out there and started the tractor, and it was great for that too.
Yeah, that does help. Yeah, and so I think it's important sometimes, those of us that are the younger crowd, when you're starting to drive, it's not about, oh, cool, I get a vehicle. You need to make sure you have a tire pressure gauge. You need to make sure you have a jumper cable. You need to make sure you have a roadside kit. You should so there's extra costs that come with having a vehicle. I've had many siblings below me. That did not do their oil changes on time, that did not do their maintenance, because your vehicle can last if you can maintain it. You know, and I think for you guys knowing, like, you know what to do, you're fixing stuff as you go, you know, and you keep it maintained and running. So, so it does help.
Yes, changing oil, very good point. Changing air filters, you know, it's all part of the maintenance of a long-lasting car. Things you have to do. I mean, her friend bought a car. It was a Honda Civic, and she asked for the records of the oil change. Guy said, oil change? I never did her oil change.
Yeah, she bought it from a high school student.
He had
and
like
he-
50,000 miles on it.
And he never changed the oil.
Oh,
He didn't
no.
even know he had to do that. So
Yeah, he said he didn't know you have supposed changing oil. But
fortunately, we had it checked out. It was okay. But
yeah.
that's
But I know we're talking about tires. One important, easy thing to do is keep your tires properly pressured. You know, inflate your tires if they are run low, because that helps your fuel efficiency and also protect your tires better.
Yeah, you want to look at your tires every now and then and see that
Yeah,
none of
it's
them
not like the field, they can go on forever.
Yeah.
Because outside temperature change will make the tire pressure change. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, another thing I would like to say is my life experience. It has nothing to do with tires. I was on my way to work on I-95 in West Palm Beach, Florida. My car engine overheated. And we just talked about how far you can go on a flat tire. Because I was opening for the newspaper library that supports the newsroom. my goal was to try to just keep driving, make it to my work. I know it was not too far. So my goal was just keep driving, make it to my workplace parking lot so I can go inside to work. And guess what? That little bit of overdrive, when my engine was overheated, it caused almost $3,000
Yeah.
damage to the
She
engine.
warped the head on the
Yeah, to the
block,
engine.
so it had to be rebuilt basically. But so she made a couple $100 that day, but she spent $3,000 fixing her car. So it's not worth it to keep pushing it.
Yeah, when your engine overheat, the gauge in your car on the dashboard would tell you, you should not keep driving. You should pull over, let the engine cool off.
Yeah.
There's some things that I always tell people is to just know that the oil is the lifeblood of your engine. Use the lifeblood of everything. So if you don't have oil and your engine seizes up, if you don't have oil in your car, your engine is not going to run and the engine will seize up and then you need a whole new engine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And-
you don't want to do
and-
that. You
And
know, and then,
water and antifreeze is the other big fluid in there that
yes,
keep your engine cool.
yes.
Yeah.
Keep your engine cool. It's and then you want to keep in mind, I'm trying to multitask, doesn't work that well. Want to keep in mind that you also, when you're starting to run warm, I think I've always turned the heat on. That if I turn the heat on, it helps draw some of the heat in off the engine. Roll the windows down, turn the heat on. My kids love it when we have to do that. Roll the windows down, turn the heat on. It will keep your engine cool because you want to pull over as quickly as you can and stop because you don't want it to go full blast overheat and warp ahead or crack a head or
Yeah,
know,
and if it does overheat, you just don't want to pull off the radiator cap because you'll get a rush of steam and hot water coming out of there. It's very dangerous.
yes, absolutely.
So you gotta let it cool down. But electric engines or electric cars, I think are going to do away with a lot of these problems.
Yes.
I mean, when you think about internal combustion engine, all the moving parts, all the service fluid it needs, including gas, you go to electric vehicle, it's just very simple. I mean, I think they have probably grease inside the engine and the gears, but probably no oil, probably no water, doesn't need gas. It just simplifies everything tremendously. So, this generation of people are probably going to have
Electric cars,
Yeah.
yeah.
a simpler.
Yes, except that there's those of us that still need these older vehicles, which we still
Yeah,
have them, we're
right,
holding on
right.
to them and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know how many electrical vehicles there are out there. It's probably still only a couple %. But so internal combustion engine is going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and stop recording.